If you clicked on this video, you already know what you're here for. If you're new, my name is Lex. Welcome. It is with very great excitement that I finally get to introduce you to my first ever preset collection, the SHADOWSELF pack. This is something that I've been asked for a very long time. It's here and I'm so excited to share it with you. I thought it would make the most sense to kind of start with the time frame of everything, my experience with editing, I guess kind of my journey. It will be very brief. This is not like a history lesson on Lex's endeavors with editing, but I thought it made sense to kind of give you my background, how we got here. Photography was my first love. I got into videography more so with social media and the rise of obviously apps like TikTok and such. I got my first ever DSLR camera back in like 2015 or 2016. There was a moment in time that I did do photography somewhat professionally, like senior photos, things like that, or just creative photo shoot moments. Aside from like the one-off kind of like photography gigs that I would take on, I was always very interested in like the social media aspect of photography, obviously. And yeah, that always played a role. It probably wasn't until 2017 or 2018 that I started shooting my own photos, like tripod setup and everything. Thinking about that now is actually insane, but yeah. That being said, that it's like a very brief history of me with photos and of course then editing. I've been using Lightroom for just as long and have been familiar with the Adobe suite. Videography obviously plays a role in all this, but it's besides the point right now. Ever since I started pursuing content creation, where I was putting more energy and like my creative like lens onto my photos, I feel like is when I started getting asked more like, what do I use? What do I do? What presets do I use? And obviously at that time, I didn't know as much, but was still doing kind of like my own edits. There was a few other apps that I used to use back in the day that I loved. Some I even still will dabble with, but in terms of editing my own photos and up until about a year ago, I would say like end of summer 2023 is when I started being like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna create these presets. They're here, they're launched, you can have, they're yours. Let's get into the preset pack itself and what it all entails. The SHADOWSELF pack is definitely something that I wanted to be more of like an art piece on its own versus like, here are some presets, I labeled it this, and that's just what it is. There's definitely some more depth to it. In the handout that comes with each of the orders comes a letter from me to you. Really what I want is it to just be like a stepping stone in your own personal creative content photography endeavors. This is the first offering that I am putting out there along the evolution of my personal photography editing creative journey. Now I get to hand that off to you, and I think that's just really special and exciting for me. Maybe you're thinking, Lex, this is a preset pack, you're getting really emotional and deep. That's who I am. This in itself was very important to me, to do it the right way and offer something that wasn't just another like however many dollars spent that you won't use. The SHADOWSELF pack comes with 13 total presets. 7 of them are the like original, what I call the OGs. The other 6 of them are variations for people who are not super familiar, controlling temperature and tint or white balance, either slightly warmer, slightly cool. It's just a stepping stone to help you achieve what you're trying to do. And in that case, you would only need to be touching exposure. All of these presets, regardless, the only thing that is a must for you to touch, because every photo is different, is exposure and the white balance, temperature and tint. Additionally to the presets themselves, I created this, what I think is super fun and cute handout. That's where my letter to you is. It details and provides examples of each of the presets, and then it goes into things to note, which are some of my like tips and tricks, but then just details to make editing and making these presets work for all of your photos as simple as possible. Speaking of as simple as possible, I would love to talk next about downloading, uploading, and all of that. This process is so easy and I'm gonna walk you through it right now. After purchasing the SHADOWSELF pack, you'll be receiving an email with the zip file with all of the presets and the document included. Make sure to download that to your files on your phone. Once your presets and the document is downloaded, I highly recommend reading the document I created for you before doing anything else. This is going to make things even simpler. Once you've gotten through that, make sure, if you haven't already, that you have the Lightroom app downloaded and updated. Go into the app, select the preset tab at the very bottom of the screen on the far left. You then should be able to hit the 3 dots in the upper right hand screen and hit import presets. It is there you should be able to find the SHADOWSELF pack in your files. Select that, the zip file, and you should be able to import it like that. And honestly, that's it. You have them already. You can use them right away on your photos. There's truly nothing else you have to do and you're good. You're set. It'll be all labeled. If you're ever having a hard time finding where your presets are, obviously make sure you're in the presets tab on the far left. It'll be under SHADOWSELF pack in your presets. Please drop any questions you might have in the comments. If one of you has a question, I'm sure somebody else does, and I'd love to make sure everyone has their questions answered. I think now would also be a great time to let you know or remind you that I do have a Patreon page with exclusive Discord access where all of these conversations can go way more in depth and I am way more like accessible and available. I do live streams every other Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If content creation, photography, editing, all of that is something you're looking to get into more and would love to be in a community where those conversations are happening, this is your invitation to join. I will leave the link in the description. Moving on, I just wanted to say that there truly is no right or wrong way to use these. Some presets work better for different photos, and that truly is always going to be whatever your eye feels is best. It truthfully comes from that like feeling of like, oh my god, I love this. This is super appealing. The colors are working. You will almost always want to tweak every photo. Again, the only things you should ever need to touch are exposure and the white balance, which is temperature and tint. Things could be shot in perfect conditions and you might not need to touch anything at all. I say perfect conditions, however, again, that is totally up to you and what you consider to be perfect. Some people may like slightly underexposed. Some might like slightly overexposed. I personally am a lower exposure kind of person. Again, it is entirely up to you, which is honestly the beauty of it all. I'm going to challenge you to kind of just play with them, try new things. Don't be afraid to mess with the settings that are already preset that you don't need to be touching. For me, that was the easiest and best way for me to learn and get better at editing and honestly find my style. Didn't want this to be too long. I'm gonna wrap it up. Again, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I truly hope you love these as much as I do. I really put all of my like current aesthetic into these and I'm just really excited that you get a piece of that now. The link to view the presets and all additional information is going to be in the description. They're here. They are yours. Until next time.